Hi, welcome to the Foróige Q&A with local Gardaí in Youghal. Young people ask the questions, the Gardaí answer. You can listen to the whole thing or click on the question in the link below.
Hi, I'm Peter Quealy. I'm the community guard here in Youghal Garda station. I'm in Youghal since 1999. I joined the Guards in 1993. Was stationed in Ballyconnell in Cavan, Pearse Street in Dublin, Watercourse Road in Cork, and have settled in Youghal since 1999. And I was appointed community guard here in 2009, and I've been doing that ever since. And I'm retiring in 2 years, 11 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days. Not that I'm counting or anything.
So my name is Karen Cassidy and I am stationed in Middleton Garda Station. I passed out from Templemore Garda College back in February 2020 and have been stationed in Middleton ever since. Compared to Peter, I still have a bit to go before my retirement. So still loving it though.
How long does it take to become a guard?
I suppose that I'm still kind of in my training at the minute and I have a year's service done. So the length of time then that my training was, it was 8 months in Templemore, so a total of 32 weeks. And then once I completed that 32 weeks, I passed out and I'm now in my probation period at the moment. So I have a year of that done. And then I suppose there's the time before Templemore as well and just the process of getting into Templemore. But all in all, absolutely love it for the past year.
How could I become a Garda?
So that's a very easy process. You can apply online. So there's an online application with publicjobs.ie. And then if you're successful with your application, then there's just a few rounds that you have to go through. So there's a number of aptitude tests that I had to do, and then you're invited to an interview. Which took place up in Dublin, and then there's also things like your fitness and a medical. So that would be kind of the route to go if someone was ever thinking about becoming a guard.
Is the pay good for Gardaí?
So this is something that myself and Peter did discuss a while ago, and starting out the pay is good, and then throughout the years it does increase as you, I suppose, go up the ranks within the job.
It has been hit hard with the recession in relation to the public sector. Seems to get hit a lot harder than the private sector. So we did get a lot of cutbacks going back to 2009, the start of the recession. Incrementally now that's kind of increasing slowly, getting some of the money back in that, so it's steadily getting better.
Who's the top Garda in Youghal?
You know it's me, don't you? Huh? No, I'm only joking. It's John Sharkey's the sergeant in charge. The highest rank we have in the Garda station in Youghal is sergeant. Our headquarters then would be Middleton, where we have an inspector and a superintendent. So really our boss would be the superintendent of Middleton that covers the whole district. But the sub-district of Youghal there's 3 sergeants, and one of them is appointed then the sergeant in charge of the sub-district, and that's John Sharkey.
What's the best and worst thing about being a guard?
I suppose for myself, starting out, not necessarily the worst aspect, but just something that I had to get used to was the shift work. So I suppose at the minute we're working 2 days and 2 nights, so it's just the transition into the night work. That would be an aspect of it. And then the best part of it for me is just getting to know everyone within the community, and I suppose working alongside my unit then as well, and the support that's there would be a huge part of it.
The shift work as well, kind of anti-social as well as nights and stuff, as in working Christmas Day and bank holidays, and when you're younger too, everyone's going out on a Saturday night and you're working and stuff, so that can be quite annoying. Also, it's a bit pot luck where you get, like, Karen's been lucky, she's only 30 kilometres from her home. Whereas when I came out of Templemore in the 90s, my first station was Ballyconnell in County Cavan, which is a 5.5 hour drive. At the time I was playing hurling for Waterford, so there's quite a spin now to come home for training every week. So, and the second station then was Pearse Street, which was half the distance, but still it's a busy station, and it's a long way from home still. So that element of it can be, how do you put it? I suppose you can get lucky and unlucky.
Is it legal or illegal to video Gardaí?
So in relation to recording there's no expectation to privacy, I suppose, when you're in the public. So you can video a member of An Garda Síochána there if you're out in the public.
When can a Garda stop and search young people?
So you can search anyone if you have reasonable suspicion that there is something suspicious there. So if you have that, you can search any member of the public there.
There would be certain good practices involved in that too, where I suppose it's how you deal with the young person, that you explain to them that, you do suspect that they might have something on them. You ask them, have they anything on them? And you ask them to empty out their pockets. It isn't a case of jumping into their pockets, throwing everything out and, getting them to strip search or whatever. Like, if the search starts to reveal things, normally the search would stop and in order to do a proper search, then you bring them back to the station. You would have to ask a parent or a guardian to be present at that stage, because at that stage they've been arrested under Section 23 of the Misuse of Drugs Act for a proper search. So there is certain good practices, but a lot of the time, if there's a suspicion there, you just you search them on the side of the street.
Can you be breathalysed by Gardaí if you're under the age of 18?
So with this one, you can be, as the age there to drive, I suppose, a tractor or a motorbike or anything like that would be 16 and above. So again, if you have suspicion there, you can breathalyse someone.
Can a Garda tell you to go home in the middle of the day when you're doing nothing?
The answer is yes, you can be told to go home in the middle of the day if you're doing nothing, and simply it comes under the Public Order Act. Normally in that situation, I can picture the scenario on numerous occasions where there's a gang of young people gathered, maybe somewhere in a public place outside a shop. We've had, they tend to move around from place to place. So I use the example of where we had a lot of problems was the Spar in the Killer Road, where they'd block up the footpath with 10 or 12. We'd come along, we'd ask them to move on, and normally we get the answer, sure, we're doing nothing wrong. We're not saying anything. One or two might get lippy, the other 10 or 12 might say nothing, but we would have the powers to move them all on. So in that case, you've had maybe 10 people there who are standing there saying nothing, but the fact is, they're loitering is the word, and they can be moved on.
Can a person under 18 carry a bottle of alcohol in a bag up the street and be arrested, and what can a Garda legally do in this situation?
So again, this is something that I discussed with Peter, and if the bottle of alcohol is closed, that is okay to be carrying in a bag. And as long as they're going home to a responsible adult there then as well. I think if Peter wants to add a bit more.
Yeah, that's the laws change on it. I'd say maybe 7 or 8 years ago, just to have alcohol when you're under the age of 18 was illegal and could be confiscated, not necessarily arrested. We don't normally arrest for them sort of offences where they're carrying it. If they're drinking it, yes, they can be arrested and brought back to the station. But again, as Karen said there, they have to be heading in the direction of home. They can't be heading in the direction of the Strand where we know they're going to sit down and have a little party for themselves. So if it's unopened and they're heading home to a responsible adult or heading somewhere to a responsible adult and they can prove that, they can hold on to the drink. Otherwise, the drink can be confiscated.
What can the Gardaí do if you're out past 1 a.m. in the morning and you're a teenager?
Again, in that scenario, very much dependent on the action and the age of the young person. A 12-year-old or 13-year-old after 1 o'clock in the wrong company or doing the wrong things or whatever, and has a poor explanation or an attitude towards us, they can be brought home. Not necessarily arrested. We wouldn't be arresting anybody in that scenario, but for their own safety, we would be returning them home. If it's a 16 or a 17-year-old and their parents are happy enough to have them out of that hour of the night, and once they're behaving themselves, we wouldn't be getting involved there. We wouldn't be taking any action.
Can you drink at home if you are 16?
Yes, you can drink if you are 16 at home, but again, you need to be in the company of a responsible adult there within the household.
It's delicate and awkward is other children from other households whose parents or adults might know that their child is drinking. So it's not as straightforward as a yes answer. You have to take into consideration the other young people that are there if they're drinking and if their parents know. But unfortunately, the fact that it's in private property in somebody's house, there's very little we can do about it.
And as Peter said there, it's the surroundings as well that person is in.
Can I be searched on the street if I'm under 18?
Yes, again, so that's going back to one of the previous questions. So if a member of An Garda Síochána has the reasonable grounds there of suspicion that there's something, but as Peter kind of previously mentioned as well, that we would ask them to, if they do have anything that they shouldn't have, or to empty out their pockets first. So yes would be the answer there.
Is drug paraphernalia illegal, like a grinder?
So again, that would be a yes there. I think the example that was given there was a grinder. So yes, that would be illegal.
Often with the drug paraphernalia, what you will get there is traces of drugs on the paraphernalia, be it tin foil with heroin and stuff, and the grinder might have some cannabis on it. Them traces would also give you a drugs offence, as in possession of that drug. So as well as the paraphernalia, if there's any traces of the drug on that paraphernalia, you will get charged with possession of that drug, whichever drug is traced on it.
Can you be stationed in the town where you're from?
So with this, you can't necessarily be stationed in the town that you're from. But as we previously said, you can be within close proximity, I suppose, give or take the 30 to 50 kilometre, I think, radius.
Yeah, it's about 30 to 50 kilometres. When I was back in my day, it was miles. So long. So it was 20 miles back then, but it was recently increased again, I think, anything from 30 to 50 kilometres. They tend to make exemptions in cities. Like a lot of the Dublin city guards are actually from Dublin city, because of the population and stuff. And Cork City sometimes make a few exemptions as well. Limerick City, small bit in Cork City, but by and large, you wouldn't, in towns and stuff, you wouldn't be stationed in a town that you're from.
What do Gardaí in Youghal think of young people in Youghal?
Not bad, in fairness. There was, I'm only looking back on the history of, say, the 20 odd years that have been in Youghal, and I suppose if you look back on it, the present crop of young people, don't get in a whole pile of trouble. From the meetings that we have, there's a lot of issues that they have to deal with here in Youghal. Young people, there's, like I said, like we were saying earlier at a meeting, the facilities, there used to be a great youth club there. I remember we had a youth club. We used to bring away and stuff on trips and stuff, but unfortunately the volunteers fell away, so that doesn't help matters, in relation to it. But no, we don't have a whole pile of issues with young people. I think boredom gets the best of them at times, and nearly the worst of our issues is congregating in large groups. Sometimes it gets out of hand, but by and large, even though it can be quite intimidating to people for large groups of young people to be wandering around the town and hanging around in street corners, they're not exactly causing us a whole pile of problems, which is a good thing. And like I said, we would have had a lot worse issues in years gone by with young people.
What other services do you think should be available for young people in Youghal?
Obviously, it'd be great if we got the youth club back up and running again. And the youth cafe across the way in Nagle House was a super facility when it was being run. And I know COVID isn't helping, but there has been an issue for a number of years there in relation to volunteerism. People giving their time up to supervising that. The youth club itself was brilliant. It would be great to have a youth club again. One thing from the youth cafe and the youth club there, one thing that was crying out for a long number of years and still is a boxing club. Young boys love to hit boxing bags, let their anger out and stuff. And the closest we have is Shanagarry, which isn't too far away, but having said that, it's still 20 kilometres, and it's a bit much to expect people at times to travel down 20 kilometres. But if there was ever something similar to be done here in Youghal, I think it would be a great amenity for young fellas, and I suppose with Katie Taylor now, we can't just say young fellas, young girls as well, the trailblazers, the girls at the moment with boxing and sport and that. So yeah, that's the one thing that I think the town could benefit from is a proper run boxing club.
Thanks for listening, and thank you to the local Gardaí and Foróige Youghal GYDP for taking part.